Yo, how's it going, everyone? I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I'm Ames, and today begins my One Piece Netflix live-action adaptation episodic breakdown. Obviously, we're gonna start with the first episode and work our way through each one. I'm gonna try to get multiple episodes out a day, but we'll see how my schedule works out. And so to start, the first episode was called Romance Dawn, symbolizing Oda's first chapter, which is perfect. I don't mind that at all. I actually prefer it because then it gives the impression that they're sticking very closely to the manga. Or at least the anime, which would make more sense since that's the main material they're focusing on. And so it begins with them being in Locktown at Gold Roger's execution, and Garp is there announcing to everyone that the Navy is going to execute Rogers in the name of the world government, which I personally found unusual that Garp is advocating for the world government and is executing Rogers on their behalf, because we know Garp is not a huge fan of the world government, more specifically the Celestial Dragons who control it. But then again, he is a loyal soldier, he's dedicated to the Navy, he's simply following orders for once. In this scene, we do get a little bit of an Easter egg when we see Garp and Rogers talking a little more casually, sort of indicating they've had a very long rivalry that eventually became a friendship. It's also referencing how Rogers entrusted his son to Garp. Most likely Ace isn't gonna show up in this season unless it's like the very last episode. I would assume it would be a post-credit scene if anything. And then right before Rogers was executed, a random man yells out, "Tell us where you hid your treasure!" Just like how they did in the anime, because I don't think that's something that's referenced in the manga. It's constantly referenced in the anime where the reason Rogers told people about his treasure was because someone yelled out, "Where's your treasure? Did you find it? Is the One Piece real?" And I'm happy they did include it in the show, which would explain why, like, Rogers informed everyone about finding his treasure, finding the One Piece, setting out to sea, and starting the Great Pirate Era. And at that moment, we get to see Mihawk. So this is Mihawk's first introduction right now, which I'm happy because in the anime, they don't show these characters there, maybe because Oda hadn't decided if they were going to be there or not. But for the live action, they're going to show you several familiar faces. This, off the top of my head, I couldn't figure out exactly who it was. Initial assumptions tell me it's Bellamy the hyena, just because of the blonde hair, but it could also be Doflamingo. I mean, that bright of a hair stands out. They wanted this character to stand out, and they focused solely on them for a reason. It has to be someone we know. And then after Rogers' execution, we cut to Luffy already out at sea. We don't see him set off from Windmill Village. He's already out at sea, and he's trying to recruit the Seagull like we saw in the trailer. And now we don't see how his boat sunk, because in the anime, I do believe it was a giant wave that capsized it, but in this, it had a leak or something. So he was shoveling out the water, and eventually it just capsized, and so he jumped into a barrel, which honestly, I'm not too annoyed about. I would have liked to see how his boat started leaking. Maybe he did something really stupid to cause a hole to enter in it, or something, you know, and not just him shoveling water out of his boat. But anyways, we cut to Alvida. Now, her ship is raiding a random vessel, which in the trailer I thought was another pirate ship, but no, it turns out it's just a regular civilian vessel. The reason she was invading it is hilarious, but before we get to that, I wanted to talk about the bounties that they show. So far, whenever a pirate with a bounty shows up, they have their wanted poster fly over their face, and they highlight their bounty. And then the pirate swipes at the bounty, like it's actually a piece of paper that flew into their face. It's a cool little quirk that they're adding to the series, although I just wish the highlight for the bounty was a little bit more better. The number catches fire, and it just sort of there glowing like embers. It's not visually pleasing, but it's not distasteful either. Since it's only the first episode, I'm being pretty lenient with my criticism, but if it's the same throughout the whole series, where it kind of feels like they half-assed that highlight just to sort of like emphasize their number, it's gonna be a huge minus for me. Also, here's another cool little quirk they added. Apparently, Alvida has multiple maces. Like, she has a ball and spiked mace, which she primarily used when she was boarding the other vessel. She swung with a rope, grabbed the bottom of it, whirled it to gain some momentum, and smacked someone with it, sending them flying. And then after she was interrogating everyone, she had this really cool like seahorse duck shaped spiked mace, which I'm assuming is her execution mace. And I feel it's more like of an accessory rather than a practical mace. Like, once she's captured you, she wants a cool looking mace to carry around to threaten people with, and sort of stands out because she's kind of full of herself. In this, Alvida thinks very highly of herself, which is the same in the anime, but it's to the point where she is actively hunting for Roronoa Zoro because she's fully convinced she is the greatest pirate in the East Blue. There is no pirate or bounty out there that is superior to hers. So it only makes sense that Zoro will definitely be coming after her because he's the greatest bounty hunter in the East Blue right now, which led to her invading this vessel because apparently Zoro boarded passage on here and went towards a island called Six Island. We do see him there, but we're not sure why he went there. It's not fully explained yet. And of course, one of the civilians whom she captured was explaining to her that Zoro was on their ship. He did have a list of pirates and their bounties, and Alvida's convinced, like, yeah, I'm obviously on the top, okay? Just tell me where he is. And the guy was like, you were not on his list. He didn't even know who you were. To him, you're pretty much a nobody. And Alvida did not take kindly to that. She smashed this guy's head in with her mace, and then she made Kobe clean it up afterwards. And, like, Kobe being the nervous, shy boy that he was like, yes, Alvida, of course. Which is, like, perfect. That's exactly what we want from Kobe. He's mentally scarred right now because of Alvida. He wanted to be a marine and now he's on a ruthless pirate ship. And it's emphasized more because this is a gory show. They're not censoring themselves. They're full on with the violence. As we see right here, Alvida crushing this guy's skull. And then all of the blood Cody had to clean up afterwards. That would have been a very traumatizing experience for anyone, especially for someone as timid as Kobe. And that adds even more so because he wanted to be a marine who helped people and he just witnessed someone get executed and couldn't do anything about it. And next we cut to a flashback of when Luffy was a kid. Now, of course, we do have the typical flashback, but in this situation, instead of doing it all in one go with Luffy getting his scar under his eye, him eating the gum fruit, Shanks instilling him his own, like, philosophy, and then saving him and losing the arm, they broke it up. So in this part, we start with Luffy being in a sort of secret hideout, waiting for Shanks to come back from one of his raids. He even has his own little handmade calendar to indicate what day Shanks is supposed to come back. And then we cut to Shanks' ship where we saw Yasa, Ben Beckman, and Lucky Roo, and they're all unloading cargo from their latest catch. One of which being this box, which clearly indicates it's the box that holds the gum fruit. And then we have the typical Luffy being like, hey Shanks, let me join your crew. And Shanks being like, you're just a kid, it's dangerous on the seas. This scar on my face is proof of that. Referencing the scar Blackbeard gave him, which I love how he referenced that as being something dangerous because we know Blackbeard is not a pushover. He may act timid at first, but in the end, it's revealed not only is he incredibly strong but conniving as well. And Shanks learned from that experience. He is much more prepared now. And he does not want to put Luffy in that situation because he does not believe he can protect him. And now Ben Beckman is the only one who's sort of like telling Shanks, hey, just ease off the kid. He's on his own. He has no family whatsoever. Which is a surprise. This is implying they had no idea he was Garp's grandson. Which, to be honest, I don't see a reason for them to even know about that. I'm pretty sure Vice Admiral Garp kept his family name a secret because of Dragon, his son. But still, nice little tidbit. This is something I enjoy. These little lines that are like kind of like throwaway lines but hold a lot of meaning is something that the live action series does really well. And then it goes straight to Luffy stabbing himself in the eye to give himself a scar. And in an attempt to prove to Shanks that he is not scared. He can handle pain. He can handle an injury. And it kind of was graphic here. This is something I am actually enjoying. I'm enjoying how graphic it is. They're not holding back. They're not trying to keep it censored. The world of One Piece is a very dangerous place. And they're not gonna try and sugarcoat it by showing off some basic little cartoonish stuff. They're like, hey, we're being a live action series. We're not bringing in the goofy side of One Piece. We want to introduce people to the serious side. The one that everyone enjoys and gets drawn into. Although me personally, I still like the goofy side because that's Luffy's character. He's supposed to be goofy. Which, don't worry, they don't neglect that whatsoever. We especially see it with his interactions with Kobe. When he first broke out of the bucket, Kobe freaked out. Was like, please don't kill me, please don't. He's like, hey, shh, buddy, my friend, I'm not gonna kill you. And then Luffy proceeded to loot the luggage and eat whatever he can. And the fact that Kobe was there and letting him eat, in Luffy's eyes, that was the moment him and Kobe became friends. He does mention it later on in the episode. He states that, we shared a meal together. Me and you are now best buds. Which is exactly Luffy's mentality. As long as you have a meal with him, if you sit down with him, if you chat with him, you guys are good friends. Especially if he sees you as a good person. Now, as Luffy's trying to leave the ship, everyone's asleep. he picks up an oar. Kobe informs him that if you go straight north, you should eventually reach an island in a few days. And he's like, all right, which way's north? And he turns around, smacks the oar into that little bell right there, waking everyone up, including Alvida, who now has her signature mace from the show, which I'm assuming is her battle mace, the one she takes into normal combat, not one where she's boarding another vessel. And of course, Luffy just straight roasts her, telling her, oh, Kobe called you a fat, ugly pig. And she lost it. She tries to smack Kobe, but Luffy defends him. And from then on, he starts stretching and avoiding all of her attacks, which, by the way, the rubbery animation is actually really done well. I was nervous at first because at the start of the episode, we get a bunch of bad CGI of a bunch of ships at a port. This had me a little worried about the CGI of the stretching. But from what we saw in the trailer, it was done well, and it looks like it held up. So far, it looks good. But then again, this is only the first episode. Who knows, maybe later on they kind of downgrade a little bit. I hope not, especially because this is one that Oda signed off on. I don't think he would have signed off on it if they started going half-assed near the end. As it was reported multiple times, Oda was very critical of how Netflix made this series. So I'm assuming this was one of the very key particular things he was picky about. He did not want the stretchy animation to look ugly. That was Luffy's entire ability. If they messed that up, I'm pretty sure he would have said something about it. And then the fight ends with Luffy knocking Alvida off her ship. Now, unlike in the anime where he sent her flying to a completely different island, this he just knocked her off of it, like she was next to the boat still. But I'm assuming she floats for a couple of days and then lands on a random island and is going to come back with a smooth fruit. Most likely that's going to be in season 2, because I'm pretty sure season 1 ends with Arlong Park. And not Locktown, but we do see that famous scene where they all put their legs on the barrel right before they enter the Grand Line. That could be right after Arlong Park and right before Locktown, because I'm assuming that's where season 2 is going to start, at Locktown, because nothing from what we've seen of the trailers and promotional work indicates that Smoker shows up, or even Tashigi, but I can't say that for certain yet. We'll have to wait and see. And then we cut to Six's island, which, if you guys remember, was the island Zoro was dropped off on. So he apparently came to this island to light some candles, which indicates you have lost someone precious to you. He apparently lit 2, one of which was for Kuina, whom he doesn't mention just yet. The question is, what was the second one for? At first I was thinking like, oh, it's a person who was following him. He lit one for him because he was going to kill him. But it's indicated that you light these candles for someone precious. And I'm assuming he doesn't care about this guy. He's just another bounty for him to collect. Now, at first, I thought this guy was a part of Buggy's crew and he was chasing after Zoro because he took something from them. But no, it's something much cooler than that. This guy works for Baroque Works, and he's Mr. 7. He's trying to recruit Zoro to join them, which we know Zoro mentions in the anime that Baroque Works tried to recruit him once, but he turned them down. But here we actually see it in the live action. And I'm assuming that's because Baroque Works is going to play a major role in the upcoming seasons, not in the first one. It's probably going to be in the background of the first one because it gets mentioned a couple of times throughout this first episode. But this is clearly just to set up another season. Most likely the second one. Because if the first season covered the East Blue Saga, the second one is most likely to cover the Alabasta Saga. And of course, since Zoro turned him down, Mr. 7 decided to take him out. But Zoro was highly skilled, which I love because Makenya is well known for being an incredible swordsman. And the fact that he's playing Zoro, I was hella excited because he did an awesome job as Rurouni Kenshin. And he did Zoro justice. I'm gonna say that. In this very first episode, he did Zoro justice. He had amazing sword skills. There were fluent motions. Camera work was stunning. It wasn't like a lot of cuts to show you like, oh, hey, they're not actually hitting each other, but it does look like it, which I'm never a fan of in shows and movies where they do multiple cuts in a single instance so you can't get a clear look at the fight. Because if you do, it's gonna be obvious they're not actually fighting. It's all just acting and slow pace. In this, both actors did an amazing job showcasing their sword skills. And it made it for a very entertaining fight that did not have a lot of cuts or was heavily edited. And in the end, Zoro cut this guy in half, which was surprising to see because of how graphic it was. Like you can see his swords are covered in blood, his intestines are spilling out everywhere, and he's just laid spewed on the floor. Which is like, ugh, I'm not expecting this from One Piece. It's not a bad thing, not at all. One Piece is a very dangerous show again, and I'm happy they're actually going with the graphic violence violent side instead of the cartoon violence that the show is known for. It makes the world seem so much more real. And then we again go back to Luffy's flashback. This happens periodically throughout the episode, but I do believe this is the last one for the first episode. It's probably going to continue happening for the other ones, which is fine because we don't need to see the entire flashback in one sitting. It would have probably taken too long. So to me, this is more preferable to that because then we get to go into more details about what happened when Luffy was a kid and what led him to act the way he is now. Now, Luffy tells Shanks he was trying to actually cut out his eye so he could get an eye patch like a normal pirate, but he missed and hit the bottom of it, which good thing because you need that second eye, especially in a fight against strong pirates. You need both eyes to be able to perceive more properly. So good thing that you missed, Luffy. And I love this. This is where Shanks starts being like the mentor character, like the one who teaches Luffy about life. Because as we know, Luffy doesn't have family at the moment. The only one he has really is Makino and the village elder, the mayor, I believe. I think he is a mayor, but I forget. But anyways, Luffy doesn't have anyone to instill like proper philosophy or teach him about the world. Shanks inform him that there is a lesson behind every scar you get. That scar doesn't teach you anything. You don't learn from it. You didn't earn it. It's not a trophy. It's a sign of stupidity, which indicates that Luffy was a major brat as a kid. He wasn't like the skilled person that he is now. Even though he's very goofy in the present, when he was a kid, he was super serious. And we see as time goes on, he mellowed out a bit. And he began to understand what Shanks meant by this lesson. What does it mean to actually bear a scar? So Luffy, in a bit of an annoyance, went to their treasure, tried to see what they got, and he found the box that contained the gum gum fruit. And instead of it being like, oh, it was just chilling on the counter and Luffy just so happened to eat it, it was actually hidden like in the back where their other treasures were, and Luffy was just drawn to it, which to be honest I do have some mixed feelings about, because as we know from the present of the manga, devil fruits have a will of their own. It could be possible the gum gum fruit called out to Luffy and encouraged him to eat it, but that sells Luffy as like a chosen one character, like a prophesized person who was coming to save everyone, which me and a lot of people don't like. We don't want Luffy to be like the chosen one. He was destined to do this. Especially me, I've enjoyed seeing Luffy as kind of like the one who earned everything he got. He just so happened to have had the gum gum fruit, which goes by a different name that's been kept a secret. I'm not gonna spoil that for the ones who are not caught up to the anime and who have managed to not get spoiled by it, but a lot of the things that are going on right now in the manga is indicating Luffy may have been like a prophesized person, which I'm not a huge fan of. I didn't like it when Naruto did that. I'm hoping One Piece doesn't go down like, oh, Luffy was prophesized to do this. However, it does seem like the live action is probably going to be going down that route. Like, Luffy was prophesized to eat the gum gum fruit. He was prophesized to become Joy Boy. He was prophesized to liberate everyone from Eam's tyrannical rule. And then in that moment, the mountain bandits show up, and instead of the typical, oh, we want booze, there's none, okay, I'm breaking this bottle on Shanks' head. No, in this situation, he just broke it on the counter. He's like, what is this gonna do? It's just half a bottle. We're mountain bandits. We're not gonna get drunk off of this. And Shanks was like, oh, there's glass everywhere. Makina, do you have a mop? Let me clean it up for you. And then Shanks proceeded to sweep up the glass, which was kind of like, it wasn't as like engaging as it was in the anime. Because in the anime, he broke the bottle and splashed booze all over Shanks. Whereas in this, he just threw it on the ground and threw some plates as well. It didn't seem as intimidating or like he was insulting Shanks. It just seemed like he was in a bad mood, so he broke a bottle and a couple of plates. And everyone just laughs like, ha ha, you got too good. Well, I'm just sitting here like, did he actually do anything in this situation? And then Luffy, of course, lost his temper and tried to run away, which resulted with Shanks grabbing his arm and his arm stretching. And in this moment, instead of everyone like freaking out in the comedic way where they all simultaneously spit out their drinks and looked at us like, Luffy, what did you do? Oh my god, you ate the fruit. That's a devil fruit, you idiot. In this situation, Shanks was like, Luffy, what did you do? In the most dramatic fashion. So it seems like they're cutting out a lot of the goofy bits, like I said earlier, but it seems like even situations which are supposed to be goofy, like this one where Luffy just suddenly started stretching, is also just being looked past. They're sticking to a completely serious storyline. And then we go back to the present where Luffy and Kobe are just on a rowboat going to the nearest island, and Luffy's like, let's go straight to the Grand Line. And Kobe's like, how are we gonna get there? We don't have a map. And then Luffy gives the goofy response, right, we should probably get one of those. That would be smart. You're brilliant, Kobe. That's why you're my first mate. I'll leave it up to you. I'm gonna go take a nap. Which is funny because like immediately, like at this point, Luffy acknowledged Kobe as a member of his crew. Whereas at this point in the anime, they were just friends. He wasn't a part of his crew. Luffy was being very picky with his crewmates. Whereas the live action is like, Luffy does not care who his crewmates are. He just just wants a crew ASAP. He doesn't care if they're a news seagull, if there's someone who wants to be a Marine. He doesn't care. Anyone and everyone who is talking to him at this point is being recruited to join his crew. And this was the moment Kobe revealed to Luffy that he wants to be a Marine. And Luffy told him, like, go do it. Live out your dream. Don't let anyone hold you back. And yet he's still acting like Kobe is gonna join him and become a pirate. This becomes a little more prevalent later on, but I'll discuss that when we get there. And then finally, Nami's introduced. She showed up on a little dinghy to one of Buggy's sort of small boats. Not his flagship, just a little small one with a couple of his pirates on there. And Nami deceives them into thinking that she's alone and she has a massive treasure. They go to take it to only see that the chest is empty. And then she makes off with their boat. Typical Nami fashion, it worked. And then we cut to the Marine base where Zoro, Luffy, and Nami all managed to end up at the same bar one way or another. And Zoro's still lugging around the body of Mr. 7 in order to turn in his bounty. He decided to stop and get a drink first. Nami was there scoping out Marine officers who seemed to have a similar height to her, while Luffy and Kobe were there in order to sneak into the Marine base to steal a map and then have Kobe sign up for the Marines. And then we see the little girl. She's providing Zoro with some rice bowls with chocolates in them. As we remember from the anime, she has a sweet tooth and she sucks at baking, so the food would have been nasty, but she spilled it on Helmeppo. Now, I love Helmeppo's design. He doesn't have the goofy hair yet. He does get it later on, but it's for a funny reason that he gets it. And then he stomps out the rice bowl just like he does in the anime, but in this situation, it was in the bar before Zoro was chained up. But despite that, Zoro still eats it off the floor. He's like, don't waste food, you jerk. This girl went out of her way to make it. And Helmeppo, being the sort of stuck-up little spoiled brat that he is, picks a fight with Zoro. And of course, being a Marine base, there are several Marines around there to help him. Yet Zoro kicks all their asses. Doesn't even need to draw his sword. Now, here's something everyone has to remember. In the anime, for the entire point of the East Blue Saga, Zoro was weakened. He was first nearly starved to death for a month. Then he suffered gravest injuries because he was fighting while weakened. Then he fought against Mihawk, who one-shot him with a dagger pretty much. So he had fought injured for a majority of the East Blue Saga. In the live action, he is completely healthy, and he just showboats throughout this entire fight. He doesn't draw his sword, he kicks the stool, he uses another guy's sword to block Helmeppo's, pretty much making the Marines look like punks. And in this situation, Nami takes advantage of the confusion to knock out the Marine she was seducing and steal his uniform. And in this situation, instead of Helmeppo threatening the girl and the bar, he convinces Zoro, like, please don't kill me, my father will give you whatever you want. And Zoro's like, perfect. He needs to pay me for this bounty I'm turning in. And they cut to Axe Hand Morgan's, and Morgan's is impressed by Zoro's abilities, and he's like, you sent 4 of my men to the hospital. The punishment for that is being strung up for 7 days in the yard, which at first I was all like, only 7 days? That's not a big deal. Then I remembered, oh yeah, logic, 3 days without water, you die of dehydration. Whereas in the anime, Zoro was strung up for like, what, 27 days? And was perfectly fine. He was just really exhausted, which being strung up for 7 days should have killed him. Of course, Zoro is not going down without a fight. Morgan respects him. He's like, you have some skill. Why don't you work under me? Zoro turns him down. He's like, I have no intention of being a Marine. Just give me my money and let me go. He's like, well, it's either you join me or get strung up in the yard. Your choice. Zoro took strung up in the yard. He was like, I'm not working for you. Just tie me up for 7 days. Once I get out, I'll get my money and go. And then Helmeppo just shows up and starts taunting him. He treats him like he's nothing. He's like, I am the legendary son of the great Axe Hand Morgans. Do not think you're going to get out of this alive. Then after they leave, Luffy shows up, recognizes Zoro from the bar, and is like, you're a good person. You protected that little girl and her mom. Why don't you join my crew? And Zoro's like, you do realize I'm a bounty hunter, right? I kill pirates for a living. And Luffy was all like, really? Is that all you are? Are you really just a bounty hunter? And that's where Zoro feels like, you're right. I'm not just a bounty hunter, but how the hell could this guy tell? He just looked at me and can tell I'm not just an ordinary bounty hunter. My goal is to become the world's greatest swordsman. The bounty hunting thing is just to make a living so I don't starve to death. And the fact that Luffy was able to recognize that, like, it hurt Zoro. His goal wasn't to be a bounty hunter, but he needs a way to make money. And the fact that Luffy recognized it right away earned some like positivity points from Zoro. Not to the point where he's like, I'm a ride or die with you, I'm gonna join your crew, but I'll tag along for the time being. Cause this whole bounty hunter thing is starting to get old. People just keep attacking me out of nowhere. I've been by myself for a very long time. Having someone who is capable of watching my back could be good. But of course, that's later on in the episode. I sort of trailed off there. Let's continue from this point. At this point, Luffy decided to untie Zoro and telling him like, hey, you're wasting your time out here. If you're gonna be the world's greatest swordsman, you really should be thinking about what you're doing. Also, close this grate behind me, thanks. Luffy pretty much acting casually like him and Zoro are already friends, despite this being their first conversation. And then we cut to see what Nami was doing. So she stole the marine uniform in order to break into their maps archive to steal a map to the Grand Line. Now, as to why Nami is interested in a map to the Grand Line is confusing. Like, she doesn't want to go into the Grand Line. She needs to collect treasure to free her village from Arlong's grip. Maybe he wants the map to the Grand Line, but Arlong is a fishman. He came from the Grand Line. Wouldn't he know the layout of it better than an ordinary human? At least that's what I'm assuming, but I'm guessing not in this situation. And unfortunately for her, the guy whose uniform she stole works down there. And so Nami proceeds to beat his and the other Marines' asses, which was like, what the hell? Nami can scrap? I mean, I know she's a master deceiver, but apparently the live action decided that since she's been traveling around on her own for a while, she can hold her own in a fight. At least against normal Marines. Maybe not against someone like Axan Morgan's, but against basic foot soldiers, she got it. She don't need no help. And then right at the same time, Luffy falls through a grate, landing right on the table, freaking Nami out. She decided to continue her marine get up and be like, I'm taking you into custody. She doesn't want to blow her cover, and Luffy is like, you do realize I heard everything that happened, right? I know you're not a marine. And he's all like, yeah, well, you see, I'm looking for a map to the Grand Line too. Why don't we work together? Why don't we both go look for it? But it's my map. You see, you can come with me, but it's my map. And so Luffy, without a disguise, without a plan, just walks right into the middle of the marine base. Nami being like, hey, you're gonna blow my cover if you get caught. At least let me like come with you and at least act like I'm taking you to the prison bay or something. Just don't be an idiot. And then they run into Morgan's. Nami, being the master deceiver that she is, informs him that she's taking him to the prison bay for causing a ruckus and that she was honored to be working under him. He didn't recognize her. He's like, I don't remember seeing you around. She's like, I just put in a request to work under you. I mean, you're the legendary Axe Hand Morgan. You captured Captain Kuro of the Thousand Plans. Why wouldn't I want to work under you? And after getting his ego stroked, he's like, all right, go ahead. You're good. You recognize greatness. Carry on. Resume your duties. And Luffy in that situation was like, yep, see? You are amazing. We make a good team. You're on my crew. As of this moment, you're on my crew. Nami gets to know. He's like, hey, no, that's not happening. Don't you dare. I hate pirates. I loathe them. Do not even think about trying to recruit me to join you. And then we cut to the funniest scene in the episode. So Helmuppo decided to play with one of Zoro's swords. He's just swinging it around, and for some reason, he's naked. Zoro walked in on him and was like, give me back my sword. Now, you're gonna have to pay for insulting me earlier. I'm gonna make you regret ever making an enemy of me. Which at first I thought, oh my god, please don't tell me he's gonna string him up in the yard naked. He doesn't, it's actually something funnier. We then go back to Luffy and Nami. They're trying to find the map, but no luck. And Luffy just so happened to pull a random axe on the shelf, opening a secret compartment which held a safe, which they're assuming holds the map to the Grand Line. There's no guarantee it's in there, but it's safe to assume that it's there. And then Morgan's, who just so happened to be on his way to the map archive, discovered that Nami and Luffy were pirates who broke into his base. So they sound the alarm. And Luffy was like, do they know that we're here? Nami jokingly says, no, I think it's the other thief and idiot pirate who tried to steal a map that they're looking for. And I love this. Inaki does such a great job of Luffy here. He's like, thank God, what are the chances that there's another fake marine and pirate on the loose in this base while we're trying to steal this map for the Grand Line? This works out perfectly for us, thank God. Nami just looks at him like, seriously? And then Inaki has this like look in his eyes. I'm like, oh shit, she was joking. Yeah, I was kidding. He's like, yeah, it was a joke. I didn't actually believe you at all. I knew you were just being sarcastic. Which is amazing. The fact that Inaki did this all with just a couple of looks was like beautiful. Like, that's exactly something Luffy would do. And Inaki portrayed it perfectly. Oda was not joking when he said this guy is Luffy. He is him. And this moment just clarified that for me. And unfortunately, throughout this goofy situation, Morgan's had enough time to get to them and started breaking down his door. So Luffy was like, we don't have time for you to crack the safe. I'm just gonna take the whole safe. And he rips it out of the floorboard, knocking him and Nami out of the window. But luckily, Luffy's made of rubber, so he cushioned Nami's fall, and a fall like that would do nothing to him. His rubbery body negated the impact. And then because the alarm had been sounding off for a while, the Marines rushed the courtyard the moment they saw them fall out of the window. And then we got a glimpse into Nami's staff skills. She had managed to take out several Marines, which is not like the typical Rami. Normally in this situation, Nami would have been like, nope, Luffy, you got this, I'm booking it. But she needs that save, so she had to fight her way out. And it was impressive. Like, normally Nami is a stealth character. She hides, she steals, she deceives. But in this, she showed off her combat capabilities. Granted, again, ordinary Marines, not highly skilled soldiers. They're more like privates and cadets. So she can handle them, but not anyone with actual skills. At the same time, Zoro was just about to walk out of the base. He's like, they got this. I'm not actually affiliated with them. But he felt kind of bad. He understood Luffy was a good guy. Luffy could see his true nature, how he wants to be a swordsman, and respected him for it. He didn't look down on him. He didn't question him. He's like, well, you want to be the greatest swordsman? Go do it. Don't let anyone hold you back. Same thing he did with Kobe. And because of that, Zoro felt reluctant to just leave him there. So he turned around and saw Luffy and Nami starting to get overwhelmed by the numbers, so he rushed in to help them. And at this moment, Luffy fully acknowledged them as members of his crew despite them not being a part of it. He's like, yeah, we're a crew. No, we're not. No, we're not. Don't try to put us on your crew. We're not pirates. And now Morgans comes in bragging about how he defeated the Black Cat pirates. Despite him not actually doing that, he was hypnotized into thinking he did. Which, since we know Captain Kuro is in Syrup Village, I think it was Syrup Village, that's gonna be brought up. They're definitely gonna reference him getting hypnotized and him not actually doing it. Now, this is something I found impressive. This Axe Hand Morgans was actually strong enough to give Zoro and Luffy a challenge. It wasn't an easy dub. He managed to block Luffy's attack. He pushed Zoro back, but then Zoro got serious. He started using the three-sword style, which I was very interested to see how would that work in a live-action setting. It honestly worked out pretty well. McKinnon did a good job of it, even though primarily he focused on the two swords and just used that third sword in this situation where he put it against Morgan's neck. It was still interesting to see. I'm pretty sure they're gonna flesh it out more in the later episodes and actually show Zoro using the full three-sword style. But since this is only the first episode, this was good enough for me. No need to work McKinney too much. And then Luffy just gum whip, knocking out Morgans. So in the end, it was a simple fight for them. But then again, this is Luffy and Zoro in peak shape. Zoro wasn't hindered from being strapped to that pole for nearly a month. And then as they're leaving, Zoro just casually picks up the safe. He's like, you guys needed this, right? Let's go. And Nami and Luffy are just looking at him like, wow, okay. Peak condition Zoro is nothing to laugh at. And as they're leaving, we see Helmeppo, and we see him with the goofy haircut he has from the anime. And it turns out Zoro is the one who cut his hair. That's what he meant by he's gonna make him suffer. He gave him the goofy, ugly haircut. Which, you know what? Better than him strapping him butt naked in the yard. And now Helmeppo's in there, he's like, you guys may have defeated my father, but once I capture you, I'm gonna be a hero. And then he gets knocked out by Kobe. And in this moment, it was like, this is Kobe's like Chad formation, or the start of it. His wimpy side is starting to fade away after like everything Luffy had talked to him about. Luffy gave him a bit of confidence, and as Luffy's trying to take him away, he was like, come on, everyone here wants to kill us. Let's go, partner. Kobe informed him, I'm not coming with you. I'm gonna follow my dream and become a Marine. Next time we meet, we might be enemies, but at this moment, we're friends. Thank you for everything. And they had this heart-touching moment where it was like the first goodbye. And as you can see, Luffy was hurt at first when he heard Kobe say, I'm not coming with you. It bothered him that he lost a friend, but he was happy because he knew Kobe was chasing after his dream. Just like how he is. He's trying to become the king of the pirates. He knows Kobe wants to be a Marine, so he was proud to see him go for it. He was sad he lost a crewmate, but he's happy his friend got to chase his dream. And then we cut to Garp's ship, where Garp receives a phone call on the really disturbing looking transponder snail. At first, his lieutenant assumed, is it a lead on Baroque Works? Which again, the referencing Baroque Works, I don't know how often it's gonna be referenced, but this is setting up the second season so far. At least I think it is. Maybe it's gonna show up again throughout the rest of the season, but for now, they're only being referenced. I'm not gonna assume they're gonna show up, but Garp informed him that someone stole a map to the Grand Line, and they were wearing a straw hat. So Garp knows it's Luffy, it's his grandson, and he's gonna go and try and stop him. He's gonna go after him because he's gonna be like, you cannot be a pirate, you're gonna work under me, and you're gonna be a Marine whether you like it or not. Then to close out the episode, we see Buggy, and apparently he wanted that map to the Grand Line, despite him coming from the Grand Line. I'm assuming he wants to go back, whether to get revenge on Shanks, whether to seek out the One Piece again, or maybe because he thinks it leads to treasure. Who knows why he wants that map? But anyways, Buggy is gonna be the star of the next episode. And it closes out with him doing an evil Joker-esque laugh, which I like. Buggy's supposed to be an evil clown, so having him be like a Joker character would work out for me. It's not entirely Buggy's character, but it would work more in a serious live-action adaptation than his goofy and incredibly stupid nature in the show. Although, if he's suddenly a brilliant mastermind, that would be weird despite us knowing he is, like, the greatest mind in all of One Piece. That's in the current of the manga. That's not at this point. He hasn't reached that level yet. This is level 1 Buggy, not level 1000 Buggy. But anyways, overall thoughts on the first episode? Really well done. It's really well done. They have all of the characters down so far. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It tugged at my heart. It was awesome. It was exciting. And it was not half-assed. They're not trying to bank off the name of One Piece. They want to make a legit adaptation. They want to make this as entertaining as possible. They're already setting up sequel seasons. They don't want this to fail. They don't want this to be a miserable excuse of an adaptation. So I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited for the rest of it. And that's gonna be it for this one. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you for the next episode, and remember to keep having fun. See ya!